The night began like any other, but no one in that crowded Chicago restaurant could have predicted what would unfold. The air was thick with the clatter of dishes, laughter of families, and the faint hum of music drifting from the old jukebox. Yet, within minutes, all of that was overshadowed by a fiery confrontation that would leave the entire room frozen in shock and lead to a moment that none of them would ever forget. Senator John Kennedy had slipped into the restaurant quietly, hoping for a low-key dinner after a grueling day of speeches and town halls. Chicago had been rough on him. His words had stirred both applause and protest, and his team had warned him to keep his head down, to stay invisible for one night. But Kennedy was never one to hide. He walked in with his usual calm, a gentleman's smile on his face, and asked the hostess for a table. At first, things seemed fine. He sat down, ordered a simple meal, a steak and potatoes, and tried to let the noise of the room settle his restless mind. But across the room, the restaurant manager, a stout man in his 50s named Mark, noticed him. Mark's jaw tightened. His daughter had been at one of the protests earlier that day, and she had come home in tears, feeling unheard and dismissed. In his eyes, Kennedy wasn't just a customer. He was the face of the frustration his family had carried for months. Mark stormed over, his voice trembling with anger. "Sir, you can't sit here. We don't serve people like you in this place." The entire restaurant went silent. Forks stopped midair. A child whispered to his mother. Kennedy looked up, surprised, but not angry. He laid his napkin gently on the table, his southern calm steadying him. "I didn't mean to cause trouble," Kennedy said softly. "I just came here for dinner." But Mark wasn't listening. His frustration boiled over. "Dinner? My daughter marched for her future today, and she said you dismissed her and every young person standing with her. You talk about caring for people, but do you even listen? You don't belong here." The words hit like a thunderclap. People shifted uncomfortably in their seats, some nodding in agreement, others frowning. Kennedy rose slowly, not with the arrogance of a politician but with the humility of a man caught in a storm. "If I've made your daughter feel unheard, then I've failed her," he said quietly. "But I'd like to hear from her myself, if you'll allow me." Mark scoffed, his face red. "Get out. Before I throw you out." Kennedy didn't fight back. He picked up his coat and stepped toward the door. The silence was suffocating until an elderly woman at the back of the room suddenly spoke up. Her voice cracked with age but carried power. "Let the man eat." Heads turned. She stood, leaning on her cane, her eyes locked on Mark. "I grew up in this city when it was torn apart by riots, by hatred, by people refusing to sit at the same table. We don't heal by kicking each other out. We heal by breaking bread toge."